Yes, team. Welcome to another episode of Jake O'Connor, the High Functioning Addiction Podcast. Today we've got a special guest. We've got a one-to-one client of mine, James. James and I have been working together for probably about 5 to 6 months now. We'll go into James's story and kind of how James came across me and the work that we've done together. But yeah, James has made some incredible progress in his journey. And I knew that this conversation would really benefit a lot of the people listening. So, James, mate, I just want to say a huge welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. For the people that don't know you and the people that are thinking, who even is this James guy? Could you just describe kind of who you are and just what you do?
Um, I'm a 38-year-old father from Australia. Um, Father to four kids, two are stepkids. I'm a worker in a trade, so I'm a spray painter, um, boxer. Um, yeah, just a person that tries to do the best for myself and my kids and my wife. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, nice. And we started working together. You joined my 10-day sobriety challenge, right? When I was
yeah,
in Cape Town, I remember. And I remember jumping on a call and I knew that we were going to do some incredible work. Like I set you a piece of groundwork or a piece of homework in between the calls. You go away and you get it done, right? That's the athlete within you, I think. That's the hard worker. Um, how did you come across me? Like, I can't even remember how we actually first connected. Obviously, I know it was through social media, but how did we
yeah.
cross paths? Can you remember?
I think I was towards the end of last year. I was kind of knew I was at a point I was struggling with some stuff. So I started to realize that I needed some help. Kind of on the verge of taking that help and kind of putting my pride aside. And and looking for some people to help me out. I did find a couple of people in Australia. Um, One person at the first time last year, I got the kind of price tag of one guy here, and geez, like so much. And then yeah, kind of stewed over it, failed a few more times, kind of got back up, failed a few more times, and realized like the money I was wasting and the despair I was facing at the time was just it weighed up more than what the money was, what the money was looking at. Got to the point, started this year, looking at different coaches and guys that you'd flick them or follow and they'd kind of hit you with the automated kind of messages and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm a person that can kind of read people pretty well and kind of read a spiel. But yeah, came across yours and yours was your page, and a lot of it spoke out to me, like a lot of other coaches and people in that position. And then yeah, it just kind of didn't feel like you were trying to grab at me, but you were kind of speaking words that were resonating with everything I wanted to hear, and not trying to sell yourself too much, and actually giving me a lot of tips and stuff for free. Um, So I kind of kept going, kept listening, um, and then yeah, kind of got the courage to say enough's enough and hit you up. Um, and we got talking, and you kind of spoke truer than other people in regards to tailoring something that could work for me. Wanted to find out what I was about, what my lifestyle was about, what my goals were, instead of just trying to sell me a kind of a package kind of thing. So we started from there, and like you said, you put on their 10-day sobriety challenge. I thought, what's a perfect thing to dip my toes into. Um, I knew I was ready. I just had to find that right person. Um, yeah, it started from there. I think it was just before March. So um, day before my daughter's birthday, that was it. Realized that was the time I was gonna start becoming the man I needed to be, and I had the right help. I found you, and I said, "Let's do it," and we both jumped in.
Mm. And the rest is history, mate. And we'll dive into to where you are now. You've
Mm.
made some incredible progress, mate. But for the people that are listening that could potentially be in a similar position to when we first started speaking, like 6 months ago, or kind of whenever it was,
Yep.
and the people that are in that position where they're following a few accounts, they kind of know that things may need to change, but things look good on the outside, right? Like they've got a job, they've got a wife, they've got the kids, and everything's good on the outside. But on the inside, they know that things are kind of um, potentially falling apart. Where were you at that point?
Um, well, basically, I've battled addiction before, and some mental issues before. I got to the point where we took that step was, like I said, I know I couldn't do it by myself. Tried and failed. Um, I had a pretty at this time. I had a pretty started out as a recreational cocaine use, along with drinking, which has always been an issue. Um, yeah, started out. I'd go about a month or two, for the last year or so, and it kind of had a downward spiral. Just it got to the point where, like a lot of addicts, you just hate yourself. For the addicts that finally get the courage to quit, gets to the point where you hate yourself, and you just hate the life you're living, and just finding an avenue to take that step to get out of it is the key. Uh, like I said, we had that 10-day challenge. That was kind of an enticement for me to money wise, financially. I thought if I could do this and it works out, then, you know, I know, I know this guy's a real deal. Um, the distance might work, it might not. And yeah, we started off there. I was ready to make the change, and I think that's like a lot of people that are trapped in some kind of addiction, is you got to be ready to do the work yourself. You've got to have enough. If you haven't had enough, you're not ready. Truly. Um, so
Mm.
it all started from there. Enough's enough. I pulled the pin, and yeah, I had reasons to do it, not just for myself, so for my family as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if we were to jump in a little rocket ship and we were
Mm.
to jump in a little rocket ship and shoot all the way back to when this all began, whatever
Yeah.
age that is on the timeline,
Yeah.
what what was James's life like then? Like what was the build up to get to this point where you were like, right, enough is enough? Like what happened on that
Mm.
side of things?
I guess if we were to go right back, started from early teens, kind of had issues with not having present fathers, stuff that I didn't know how to deal with, and it kind of led into teenage years, turning to drugs, turning to um, hanging out with people that I sought validation from. You know, got into to drugs and crime early, street gangs in early teens. Some pretty heavy stuff. Kind of just found wanting to find a way to fit in and be loved. Um, yeah, drinking drugs from 14 up, and then onto pretty heavy stuff. By the time I had my first daughter, I was 23. Pretty heavy into gangs and crime. I thought that was, I was a part of a brotherhood. I was a part of people that loved me, that could, that felt I was valuable, and it wasn't until I had my daughter that I thought I saw that things were different. There's more important things than just going out and running amok, and I had someone relying on me. Um, yeah, got, got to that stage where I realised there was two ways to go in the situation I was, and that was either be a big time criminal and follow my mates, or um, or be a father. And that was, yeah, I think one thing that carried on from me not having a father growing up, and all the pain it caused me, was I never wanted that to happen to my kid. Um, so yeah, it took me, in saying that, I tried my hardest after having my first child. Me and her mother split up. I struggled a lot mentally for many years trying to find my place. The only one thing that kept me grounded was having my daughter. I was homeless, drug addicted, homeless. I still showed up every weekend for my daughter, and that's one thing that kind of got me on. It kept me trying all through all the years. It wasn't until probably, like I said, I was homeless for a few years there. Luckily, I had my mother. I could have my daughter at her house. So that was kind of a safe place for me to have her there. Um, um, got to about the age of 30, still using drugs in and out. I'd never used drugs around my daughter. That was my clean slate and clean stints when I had my daughter. Every drug you can think of, man, every drug. Um, Whatever I could do, get my hands on or sell, I was using and making money off of anything. Obviously not having it around her. Got to about 30 years old, about 9 years ago now. Kind of realized enough was enough. Got myself off most of those drugs. Started getting into boxing. Like I was at the time I was a really bad meth addict, and I just had enough of being homeless. Enough of just wrecking myself. Got into boxing and just completely flipped it. Started using that as like a strength to make me a different person. Boxed every single day and night, morning and night for 8 years. That kind of got me off most of it. I was still smoking weed at the time, but it was a lot better at the time than what I was doing. Um, still not realizing that, I had a lot of hurt and a lot of traumas that I needed to find out how to deal with. Unfortunately, at the time, I was naive and thought that weed was the only way to numb those feelings, weed and drink. Um, yeah, the only good thing out of that time was my daughter seeing me be strong enough to pull myself out of the rut. Luckily, she never saw me at my worst, as I said before. She was never around when I was bad. So, um, and then got to about 5, 6 years ago. I met my wife, and I decided. Well, it was actually a few months just before I met my wife. I decided to quit weed. Again had that kind of epiphany where when I got off the meth, I thought, like, I'm not meeting anyone. I'm a reclusive person. I'm not getting anywhere, even though I'm boxing and having fun. I felt like there was more for me. I wanted to meet someone and offer everything more. Um, so yeah, quit weed, and then 3 months later, I met my wife. Like it was kind of a divine moment. Kind of showed me that the better I got, the more good things come to me. So since then, was still boxing, still competing, high level competing. Um, and then kind of had a few bad injuries, and then kind of the times where I'd jump off the fighting for a few months, as a lot of athletes sometimes unfortunately do, is kind of turn to things to numb that quietness. So eventually I got, started touching a bit of coke, drinking when I wasn't fighting. And then, as the last few years got into it, fighting less and less, kind of started touching the coke more. And then, as everything does, started spiraling out of control. and eventually into the last few years using it every week, into the last couple of years using it, multiple times a week to get through.
Yeah,
Got
'cause I
to
just
end of
think
last year,
about
and yeah.
the fighting part because I think that's a really useful piece there.
Mm.
And sorry to interject, but I want to just put a pin in that because the
Yeah,
fighting aspect and the kind of replacing one thing with another is so common. And like our conversation that we had before the podcast, before I hit record, like there's a lot of people, there's a few people that I've worked with and that I work with in particular that have found, like I was listening to a podcast this morning and it was Stephen Bartlett, actually, the guy that we've spoken about a couple of times. And he said he had a friend and he has a friend that he's always addicted to something. He was like
yeah,
an alcoholic and then it was like drugs and now he's like addicted to ultra marathons and then he's like addicted to like, I don't know, work and then this and then that. And it's just this air quotes addictive personality. But
yeah,
as you and I both know, that's actually not a thing. That addictive personality is actually a dysregulated nervous system, right?
yeah,
It's the nervous system screaming out for, in your situation, it was the inner child screaming for that love, for that brotherhood, for that connection, for that purpose, and for that thing to fight for. And I don't
yeah,
mean literally, I mean as in like a metaphorical sense as well, right? Like
yeah,
you, what the inner child within you was looking for that love and that connection and that purpose and that thrill. Um, and I think that's a really beneficial and useful point to touch on is like how you jumped from one substance to another substance to then to fighting to then alcohol and then to other substances and all of these kind of addictive tendencies. Through the work that we've done, what have you now understood and what have you now seen the root cause of why you kept up picking one thing, another thing, another thing, another thing, another thing?
Well, like you said, you asked me when we first started. I would have said I was exactly the type of person you were explaining. Yeah, you're explaining there is like I have to be addicted to something. So when I kind of got to 30 and decided I was going to be a fighter, that was my new addiction. Although some would say it's a good addiction, it wasn't until I actually, I was seeing therapists and stuff before. Never actually open my eyes up to what we started talking about is doesn't have to be I don't have to be an all in or nothing person. And even though those addictions were a good distraction, some would say, still wasn't finding that stillness and that peace. And I knew I didn't have that peace within myself, but I just didn't know how to find it. Um, the work we started doing opened up. I knew I had traumas, a lot of bad traumas, but some of the traumas we started working on came out of nowhere, came out of left field. Like we started talking and doing a bit of like kind of hypnotherapy kind of type stuff. I didn't realize, half the stuff that that was buried. I'd come out of our sessions like in tears, happy tears, man, like just realizing that the stuff I had has finally got off my chest, and taking a few days to process. And then, other work we did for about, teaching me how to find my stillness, whether it's books or the rewiring stuff we're doing. And finally finding that sense of like self-love, which slowed everything down, learning how to love myself and be happy with who I am, which created this massive space of, being able to sit and be happy and not have to feel like I have to feel that void with something. Um, yeah, it's an unreal feeling when it clicks.
It is.
Unreal. And it's something I'm still working on now, like, and in a sense, it's kind of, it's not an addiction, but like the more you get of that sense of stillness and happiness, it's just like, it's an amazing feeling, man. A
Mm.
really amazing feeling. And yeah, I finally feel like after some of the work we've been doing over the last 6 months or so, this I can sit here and be still, as I'd say, be still.
Yeah.
And
And that is completely night and day to the James that walked through the virtual door 6 months ago. Because you were always
yeah,
looking for that thrill, that next high, whether that is substance
yeah,
or boxing or life or whatever, right? Like you was
yeah,
addicted to that feeling, that
yeah.
sensation outside of your body. And now
I
you've
mean,
returned home. You've
yeah.
returned to that place within. So
I
sorry,
mean,
were you just going to say
with the
something?
boxing, yeah, with the boxing, it was like I um, finally had a constructive way to kind of zone out and numb everything, but kind of just shut all the problems out. But in a sense, in that same sense, I had to keep moving. I had to be doing something. I wasn't able to stay still and just be at peace in my own thoughts and stuff like that. It was another way to shut everything out. Um, but yeah, and then finding when I did slow down and have those injuries and finding like, yourself in a quiet room, with not knowing your identity without the having again that substance, that kind of switches off everything. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, until you start doing the work.
Yeah, and look, that's why a lot of fighters, like you hear Tommy Fury, for example, the most recent example,
Yeah,
he obviously has been in a boxing family and a fighter throughout his whole life. Obviously, I don't know his in-depth story, but he stopped boxing, he got injured, and he turned into an alcoholic, and that's when he split up with Molly May, and all of this stuff
yeah,
happened
yeah,
because the fighting is someone's identity, like it's your life, right? And it's good to have that purpose and that vision. You're waking up and you're getting it and you're doing this and you're doing that, and it's fantastic. And I would never want to take that away with someone. But then it's like, what happens when you do get injured? Because that's pretty inevitable in boxing.
yeah,
I know you've had quite a few surgeries on places, probably from
yeah,
boxing.
yeah,
Um, what happens when you don't make a fight, or what happens if you do get injured? Like all of these different kind of mechanics and components to
yeah.
this. And it's the same with anything, right? Like it's not a problem until it's a problem.
That's it.
Like
It
the
was. I mean,
boxing.
it
Go
was
on.
a sense of like when I was fighting and when I was winning. I was the man. I was loved. I felt like I had that self-respect, but then you stop fighting or you stop performing in any area that you do, and like you said, you lose identity. Suddenly, you're not the person you thought you were. You don't. You think that you're not the person you are, like you're cracked up to be. And you asked me a year ago, I would have said, you say, "Who are you?" And I would have said, "Oh, I'm a fighter. I'm a father. I'm a fighter. I'm a worker." But you ask me now. I've got qualities like I'll say I'm brave, I'm courageous, I'm loving, and they're qualities you don't find out about yourself until you shut all those vices off and start to dig deep inside.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot to take away from that. And look, there's nothing wrong with training hard and working
Yeah,
hard and all of these things, but it's what is its purpose? If its purpose is to take you away and distract you from the feelings that you're feeling,
yeah,
like with anything, when it gets taken away, it crashes into you like a
yeah,
ton of bricks, right? And
yeah.
I'm sure you experienced that. Did you? When you stopped boxing, did you then get hit with all of these things that you were maybe avoiding or not?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like even though I thought I was, I stopped. Even though when I was fighting, I thought, I was a much better person than I previously was. Like I said, as soon as you stop for a few months and you wonder who you are, like what am I without this? And it's a real hard kind of it's a real hard moment to deal with. Yeah, that's where you turn to you get lost, very lost. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
It's hard to claw your way back unless you really want to know who you are. And I think family aside, it's something that we owe ourselves. Not just for my family, but I feel like I've never felt before. Like I've never felt so connected to myself. You know, drugs, substances, boxing, everything aside, like just doing this inner work, you find more about yourself, and that in turn finds more to be proud of, to love yourself, to be optimistic about, and to want to explore more.
Mm. Yeah, 100%, man. I completely agree. And like, I know that you touched on it earlier about the being in the gang and like wanting to have this sense of brotherhood and like love and connection.
Yeah,
Did you find that you were still chasing that? Because I remember, um, how can I word this without giving your live example? Do you remember when we had that session when you had that slip up and we got to the root cause of why, like why that
yeah,
happened?
yeah.
Would you be willing to share like what, because a lot of people will be listening to this thinking, well, I don't know why I go and get on it. I don't know
Yeah.
why I can do a month and then fall into these binge patterns or do it every weekend, or when I meet this certain person, I want it straight away. Like this is all unconscious instructions, and we
Mm.
just think that that's it, right? But when, as you now know, when you drop through that layer, when you drop beneath that instruction, there's an emotion or a subconscious belief or a thought or something that's actually running the show, right?
Yeah.
When you went through that, what was the reason why you kept getting pulled into these nights out and going out and taking the coke and stuff like that, if you can remember?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, but like, well, I thought I was on a streak when, I mean, I think I was 85 days in. I thought I was rolling. I thought we were making good progress. I thought I was untouchable. At that stage, I thought I was heading for where I am now. And then completely shook up. Like I had a mate. You know, I kind of had a bag land in my hand, like in my lap. Given the people I used to hang around, or even now, I've got a lot of friends in that circle still, and I don't shut them out, but I'm very careful of my energy in the space now. But I th- I didn't realize that I was in a position where now I know who I am, and who I can deny it, but yeah, it just happened out of the blue, and I kind of was confused after it happened. I kind of beat myself up a bit. I was really upset because I thought I was, really strong and didn't know where it come from. Like I remember saying to you, like I was on a roll. I don't know why. I kind of did it to make other people happy. Um, yeah. Um, uh, and then it kind of stemmed back to not just making. We did the work, and it kind of stemmed back to not just wanting to fit in with my friends. But it eventuated into realizing that it's I just wanted that love and affection and wanted to fit in. And it come back to right back to my not having my dad around, not having that validation from my father, which is, again, like I said before, it's something I never really delved into deep, and realized that I had to fix that problem in order to fix all the problems after it. It's simple saying, oh, you cut your friends off and you cut your dealers off, but if you don't fix the root cause of what it is, and sometimes you don't know what the root cause is, which is why you need people to help you out, that know how to help you get there. Like I healed that wound, wrote a letter to my dad. Don't speak to him, but I wrote a letter to him, and we did that exercise, and it went further than just trying to please my friends. And once I healed myself from my dad not being there, and needing that love, and assuring that going back to that young kid and healing that young kid, which is a concept I've never even dreamt of. Imagine I healed that young kid that needed that help then. Um, I told him it was going to be all right. It's not his fault. And something just clicked. Something just clicked. I kind of felt like I could go back. We had a metaphor of we used an item for a metaphor of when that kind of trigger comes along or may come along. I'm able to subconsciously stop and think and reassure that kid or reassure that James in that moment that was hurting that it's all right. And suddenly it just wasn't a band-aid anymore. It was just like a release. Made me stronger. It's like it's given me a new lease of life, like being able to do that. Yeah, just let go of everything. And it was that kind of format of just going back to the kid that or the point where I was hurt and making things better. And I don't have those subconscious feelings. Like I don't have to constantly reassure myself now, because I've healed those wounds and I'm happier for it.
So
So
beautiful. So
yeah,
beautiful, mate. And gives me goosebumps like talking about that because I know how the progress that we've made. And once you can get to the root cause and you can understand why, and
yeah,
you get to the epicenter of that and you rewire it and reframe it and do all the subconscious work,
yeah,
that's when the addiction breaks. Like
yeah,
you're now free of that younger self within you that was looking for this soothing, that was looking for this attention, this care, this love, and all of these things,
yeah,
now has that. Like we have bi-weekly calls now, and you're showing up and you're telling me how you reconnected with your inner child and you played this sport or you read this book or you took yourself for a walk, or it's just this self-care and
yeah,
this self-care for the younger you that got neglected,
yeah.
and now you're giving him that, right? You're treating
I
it like your child.
I think they all those qualities, all the tactics that we use together. You know, that's kind of like the secret weapon is healing that trauma and finding that trauma. But they also, I feel personally, being the person I am, it all has to work in conjunction with each other as well. Like you can't just you jump on this train and you're like, right, this is it. You can't just go to the gym and work it off, and forget about it. Like I said with the boxing, it doesn't heal it. They all have to kind of work in sync together. Like the self empowerment doesn't help until you've healed that wound and that weight is lifted. Then it needs to be, in my opinion, it needs to be um, paired with good habits, good eating and stuff like that. They all have to work in sync together. I mean, but the number one secret weapon is getting that out of the way, getting healed, getting those traumas out of the way, and then the rest is coast, man. Like yeah, everything else is so easier since, but I feel they all have to work together. You
Mm.
know.
Yeah, there's a really good book on that. I can't remember if I showed you this book before, but it's called Recovery 2.0 by a guy
Yeah.
called Tommy Rosen. And he
Hmm.
talks about how there's lots of different um, kind of legs to breaking free from an addiction and recovering. There's like the therapy and the coaching, there's like yoga, there's organic foods, there's your environment, water, and all of these different components. And they all intertwine to create this kind of optimal recovery. And
Yeah.
that's what you're now doing, right? It's not like we've stopped you from training. Not at all. I'd strongly encourage all of my clients to train and
Yeah.
exercise and do all of this. But it's like, cool, that's one leg. Then you're eating clean, and then you're getting your supplements in, and then you're doing this and this and this, and it all just kind of intertwines together, which is what's making it so beautiful. And I don't know how many days you are now, but from the first day from when we started working together you've
Yeah.
used the Coke once, right?
Yep.
And that's from 6, 7 months now. So that's pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
Yep.
And again, we've stopped the Coke use, but now we kind of saw, maybe alcohol is a bit of a crux for you two now. So
Yeah.
now we've stopped the alcohol, we've stopped the Coke. Now we're working on the alcohol. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you know the number, but you're probably a month or two clean from that as well, right? Sober from that,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
again
I think I've had one glass of wine in the
is
last.
so important.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I think in the last 6 weeks, it's one glass of wine. For my anniversary.
Yeah.
But in saying that as well, I would have never thought it was strong enough. It's like going to the gym and you you want to get big, or you've got a business that you want to be successful. It's not just there's different areas that make that success, and they all have to work together
Mm.
to get there. But yeah, I just feel now like the coke aside, the coke problem, the kicked aside, like I feel stronger now to tackle more and more things now. Um, it's kind of opened up the gates for a lot of things, like to make me better. And finding that peace, it gives me a lot of ambition to tackle these new things. And
Yeah,
I'm
man.
not too hard on myself, like there's always room for improvement, but there's also finding a medium now where I've got to be satisfied, and not be too hard on myself. As you know, I'm pretty hard on myself normally. Um, but yeah, I mean, for people that having slips and stuff like that, it's not the end of the world. If anything, it's just like a fall or a loss in a game or something. It's something to learn by. That slip I thought was the end of the world for a second. Um, but I really soaked it in, kind of did a lot of journaling, kind of thought about it, and looked at it from a perspective of, what can I learn from this?
Yeah, and can I add what I suggested, because I see it a lot. Someone will have a slip up, or they may go out and get on it or something, and everything just comes crashing down. They fall back into old patterns, self-destruction mode, hatred, guilt,
Yeah,
shame, all of these dark, toxic kind of emotions, right? I think we either jumped on a call or via WhatsApp, whatever it was, and I gave you an exercise to kind of reflect on what happened. Like, let's actually slow it right down, take away the emotion out of it, because we're very emotional beings, right? And I don't know if you've heard of the chimp paradox before, but there's a chimp within us and there's a human within us. The chimp is the limbic system in the brain, which is the emotional aspect, right? We're very emotional and angry and all of this and that. But then you've got the human side of things, which is the logical, the prefrontal cortex, and actually like, well, no, how did we do this? How did I create this? Right. So I essentially got you out of your chimp and put
yeah,
you into your human, i.e.,
yeah,
got you out of the emotional, put you in the logical. And when we understood and we drilled down and really got deep on like why,
mm,
obviously, like we've mentioned, we worked through kind of being in the group and feeling wanted or loved, or the in depth. But then it's like, okay, let's zoom out again. If we
yeah,
zoom out on James's graph, so to speak, progress graph or chart, that's one use in 90 days, I think it was at the time, or something like
yeah,
that. And it's like, wow,
yeah,
that's impressive, right? It's not going back to zero. And that's why I don't really believe in these apps. Like, I think they're good, but it's like if you had that app and you reset it back to zero, it's like you've completely started again. But actually, you're zooming out and it's one in
yeah,
90 days. Like, that's
yeah,
pretty good, right? And then I believe the power of the right book at the right time is also like can change someone's life. And I remember suggesting to you the obstacle is the way. and it's the Stoic philosophy on how to
Yes.
turn obstacles into advantages. Like with that exercise and that book, like for someone that's listening that maybe has had a slip up, maybe they're trying to stop vaping and they vaped, or maybe they're trying to cut down on working hours but they're still overworking, or stopping alcohol but they're still continuing, like whatever their vice is, for someone that has maybe had a slip up or has had challenges along the way, how beneficial was that book and that exercise at that time to pull you out of that kind of emotional state? Because I know you love that book,
Yeah.
because I know you love that book as well.
Yeah. I'm huge on actually what you said about the chimp theory. I think we all have it, and we all will have it, continue to have it for forever, whether we're fixed, whether we're clean and sober. You can't be perfect, and I mean we always have that part of us that is quick to react, those
Yep.
emotions. And what these kind of philosophies and books have taught me is just if you're able to be in control of your emotions or regulate yourself enough to think clearly and before those emotions take over, you find yourself getting the right answer not 9 times out of 10. You will know right from wrong. Yeah, as long as we've got the time to think about it before those emotions take over. For me, using drugs, most of the time I picked up before I could even think about it. I know for me, when I was getting off, a big kind of weapon I used was when I'm triggered and I'm feeling like it, taking that 10 seconds to think, all right, what's it going to be like? What am I going to be like the next few days? Am I going to hate myself? Am I going to go into that self-loathing circle where I use beautiful, I'm feeling great. The next week is going to be horrible. I'm going to feel shit. You know, I'm not going to want to, I'm going to feel like I'm back at square one. And then you start to weigh up the options. Only then can you start to weigh it up and go, all right, do I want to feel like this or do I want to feel like this? And that was a big part of me. My turning point was slowing down, regulating those emotions, kind of weighing up the options, weighing up what I wanted to the decisions I wanted to make, the choice, and how what my action was after the choice. And it was easy. If you take a second to think about it, it's an easy choice. It's easy.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for people that are struggling, if you can aim to do that, it's going to get you out of trouble a lot of the time. And going back to, if you do find yourself in trouble, it's not the end of the world. It's a starting point to start again. Like I said, learn from that lesson. The counters can be good when you're winning, and then you have a slip like I did, and you're like, oh, shit, there's my days gone back to zero. And it's like you said to me, it's all those days you've had one slip, learn from it. Next time it comes up, decide take a second to think about what you want to do, and what you're going to be like, and feel like after, and it's an easy choice.
Yeah, man. 100%. I completely agree. Look, James, I know we've been speaking a lot about where you've been and your past, and I appreciate you for diving in, because I know a lot of people are going to really benefit from that and really going to benefit from hearing your story. And I feel like a conversation like this actually really crystallizes the work that you've done within you as well. And this is a document of your journey too, right? So I want to now touch on where you are, right? I know you've been talking a lot about your past and where you've been and stuff, but let's talk about where you are today. Um, we've been working together now for 6 months. We've been working through the subconscious reprogramming system, which is rewiring the subconscious mind to heal the hidden urges and triggers and traumas that everyone, I can almost guarantee everyone has micro,
Yeah.
i.e., smaller traumas, or macro, bigger traumas, right? Most people carry those around. And that first phase is all about healing these, and you've seen the benefit of the work firsthand. So I now want to touch on where you are today. Like, if you could describe to someone how you're now feeling, thinking, showing up differently to how you were before, what's
Hmm.
changed?
Um, so much it's hard to explain. Basically, I'm coming all my all my decisions, and a lot all my decisions are coming from a place of self-love and a confidence, and a surety, beforehand. Even Yeah, beforehand I was a big self-loather. I hated, my decisions, hated my choices, always questioned myself. Now I I feel this sense of empowerment in so many different areas. And you know, for me, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Um, I'm not going to say I'm worse off. I was worse off than anyone that may be listening or anything like that. I've dealt with a lot of freaking trauma, man. A lot of bad spots. I think a lot of it comes down to luck. A lot of it comes down to love and the people I surround myself, the people who love me, um, and and a lot of it comes down to the brains and the will to want to do better. Um, yeah, without saying cliche, if I can do it, I know everyone can do it. It just takes that step. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of good coaches out there that can give you the right options. It's about finding the right person that works well with you, and showing and someone and finding someone that shows you who you can be and your qualities that you actually do have, which is what I found out. Like I said, without tooting my horn, I'm in love with myself now. I'm happy with who I look at in the mirror, and I think that was the goal when I first. I think we wrote it down together, man. Like I just want to be happy with the man I'm looking at in the mirror, and then after that, I know everything else will flow with it. The people that rely on me can be proud of me. And my job, everything else follows. It just kind of it just comes and it flows once you start fixing the problem and starting to feel good about yourself. Now I'm changed. Like I can tackle alcohol. I didn't think, I didn't. Alcohol wasn't even on my radar, until I realized I was using that as well as a numbing mechanism. And I'm at the point now where I'm strong enough to go, all right, let's give that a crack. Been 6 weeks since I properly had a drink. And I think without doing all this work, you can't get yourself in a position all the time. You can't get yourself in a position by yourself. I've been in I've been I've been in and depressed states in the past where I finally checked myself in the hospital, and I think that was a turning point where I did realize that sometimes you have to ask for help. And I'm a stubborn, tough guy, like, in a sense that, someone asks me how I'm doing, I always say, oh, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm hurting inside, or I'm having a tough day. I want to just explode. My wife's like, you're all right. Yeah, I'm fine. But sometimes you need to take that step and ask for help. And, you can't be a world champion boxer without a coach. You can't get to being a boss without having someone mentor you and teach you the ropes of how to run a business. And all these things count on learning, and being shown the way. And it's just the same as it's just the same with this area of things as well. You've got to be prepared to ask for help, get a little leg up to get where you need, and once you're strong enough, you can do it by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely love that, mate. And yeah, the power of having someone in your corner that's been there and done it and got the t-shirt is so important. For people that haven't invested in a coach before, or I remember when we first spoke, with most people, the financial is kind of like, oh, like, can I do that? Like, is it going to work? Like, I'm spending this money on alcohol or drugs at the moment, so I've got to pay for that at the start and the coaching and all of these different kind of stories that get circulated, which is natural. What advice would you give someone that is in that position, that kind of knows deep down something needs to change, but maybe it's the financials or the belief or something else that's kind of holding them back?
Yeah.
What advice would you give that person that's listening today?
Well, like I said, do your homework. When it comes down to financial, you have a good, honest look at yourself on how much you're spending on stuff you don't need to be spending on, and what you're trying to get. You're trying to escape from, and I saw the price tag of coaches and stuff like that, and they're out of the range, and they'll try to talk you into it. Some might be worth it. Some are definitely worth it. You know, but you also have a few people that are definitely intending to help people. I mean, this isn't to promote you or anything, but you sat down and said, I said, look, I've got 4 kids, I've got this and that, and you went straight down my throat about, oh well, if you're willing to spend all that, you're like, all right, well, what can you afford, and what how much do you feel like you can start off, on helping yourself, um, and it's just the same as like if I was looking to be a boxer, I'm not going to learn off a doctor. If I'm looking to be, yeah, a world champ, I want a coach that's been there, done that. You've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, you've got yourself out of that. I personally look for experience. I've sat down with psychologists before, and probably a lot of people listening, if they would know, if they've seen a psychologist, you get that psychologist sometimes, or person that just doesn't click. They don't understand you. The plaque on the wall is a good thing to look at. It's impressive, but unless you've been there, been where I've been, and experienced the kind of things, sometimes they look at you and go, oh, you can always decide to be happier, or there's tools. Like I want someone that's got experience. That's a big part of it for me. Um, and the money, yeah, like I said, the money, just really got to weigh it up. Like, how much is it important to you? I know it sounds like that's a spiel, but you've got to really be honest with yourself and go, right, like, I spend $40 a week, $30 or £20 a week on the gym membership. Like, that's to train my brain, train my mind, my body. Sorry, why wouldn't you spend more than that on your brain? Like, your body doesn't work without your brain. Your body doesn't work without your spirit, your soul. That's the most important. That's your car. Your car breaks down. Like, you take it to a mechanic. Your body breaks down. You take it to a doctor. Like, why wouldn't you do the same for your brain? It took a while for me to notice that. And then all those things in conjunction with them, you take, I wanted to see that coach. All those things have got to be in place. I want someone that's been there, done that, that's willing to meet me halfway to financially get me where I want, and then we can work out the rest when I'm able to. And someone that's been there and done it. Like, it's a no-brainer. And there's a lot of people out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that on these socials that I've kind of just started up and kind of coming out of nowhere. So just be careful. Just be kind of, do your homework, do someone that resonates with you, that cares about you, and that doesn't talk crap. Yeah, and take the step. Take the step. If you really want it, all you need is a good coach.
Love
I
that, man.
think, yeah.
Love
And
it.
I mean, like I'm kicking goals now, but I'm gonna like I didn't think at the start of working with you that I was gonna keep it up financially, but now it's a no-brainer. It's like I've got four kids, house, and everything, but that's the most important thing. If this isn't working, none of that works.
Yeah.
None of it works. Um, Luckily, I've got a supportive wife that says it's a no-brainer. Put the money down, get yourself on top, and get your cup full, so they can all reap the rewards and the benefits. Yeah, be careful. Take the jump.
I call it the positive ripple effect. Like you
Mm.
and I have been working together on a one-to-one basis, but now your work benefits, your wife benefits, your kids
Yeah,
benefit, everyone else around you in your network. Like we start from here and then it spreads to here, to here, to here,
yeah,
to here, to here. It's like throwing a stone in the lake and you just see the ripples, right? It's exactly the
yeah,
same. And I know for a fact that your wife and your kids are now seeing a better James showing up too. So, mate,
yeah.
I just want to, like, I don't know if you're actually, I think you are aware of how far you've come, but I just want to like put this on record, mate, that you have showed up to every call. You do everything that I set you to do. You read every book that I recommend you to read. You text me whenever you're experiencing any difficulties. You drop me a WhatsApp. Like you are on it, mate. And there is no surprise that you have got the results that you have got, right? So I
Yeah.
just want to put on record that you have been like so coachable. Like you are probably an ideal client. Like you're coachable. You do all the work that I set you to do. You implement. You raise your hand when you're stuck. You celebrate your wins. Like you're a really great guy. So
Thank
I
you.
want you to know, mate, that you have done some incredible work, and you should be fully proud of how far you've come. You've experienced some real adversity, and now you're turning into a real advantage, and you're turning it into an inspirational story. So yeah, I want to thank you, and I'm sure the people listening as well will want to thank you for coming on, being brave, sharing your story, sharing how far that you've come. And I can almost guarantee that there's going to be someone out there that will benefit from this story. So I just
Yeah,
want to say thank you, mate.
I hope so. I mean, yeah, I mean, I know you've got all people from all walks of life. I class myself as a high performer, but I'm an average Joe. I'm a tradie. I go to work. Like I've got kids. Like just, I know there's people like there out there that are just like me. Um, and like you said, it won't if you do the work and you're prepared to, man, the results will come in. The results come in. I've never felt so happy and free in my life, and yeah, I thank you for that. But yeah, I also know it's because of our work. Yeah, man, anyone can do it, and I beg anyone that's not sure. Jake does. You do like these little 10-day challenges. Just dip your toes in, get a feel for it, get a feel of that success. And once you start feeling good about yourself, like the doors open, and you see how important it is. And yeah, I thank you for that, mate. So
No, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
cheers.
If we jumped off the call and you
Mm,
thought, oh, I wish I shared that one final thing,
mm.
what would that thing be? Like,
Um, shit. No, I won't know till I jump off the call. I mean, um, yeah, I think for anyone that's kind of that's reading it, for anyone that's listening that hasn't taken the step yet, is just have a look at what matters in your life, and use that as a power to use that as a turn a turning point or a power to really take that step. some people that have kids, people that want a better life, use it as a weapon. Like, let's go, let's get to work, let's get this done, because everything's on the line. And it's, it's time to win. It's time to win. And then people that are continuing to do work with you, just know that, all this recovering addict stuff, are like, I'm never, I'm always going to be addicted. Like, that's in a sense, it's okay, but if you don't put that stuff behind you, you're always gonna be looking over your shoulder, and you're never gonna kind of reach your full potential, and be free. So that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's the labels is the exact thing that keeps people stuck. Labeled as an addict, or labeled in recovery, or getting clean, or doing this or doing that. Like, that really does keep people stuck. So for anyone listening that is in that state of like, oh, I'm recovering, or having to go to AA meetings for the rest of their life, like, if that works for them, cool. But if it's not, reassess and really understand, because it's these exact labels that shape our reality. And if I'm labeling, like, I would never say to anyone that I'm a recovering addict or I'm in recovery. Like, that's just not who I am. I've put that old me in a box, and that's it. And now I'm moving on. So, look, James, really, really incredible conversation, mate. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. For anyone that maybe wants to drop you a message or connect, or say thank you for sharing your story, where can people find you, mate?
I kind of kick my head down and ass up now, and just get to work. I mean, if anyone wants to chat, or anyone feels like, that anyone wants an ear, or chat, and thinks I might be able to understand what they're going through and help them in any way, I'm on the journey too. So, let's do it together. Get in contact with Jake. I'm sure I'm fine with him. Give him my number, WhatsApp number, or something like that. And if anyone wants to jump on Insta and hit me up with any questions or anything, I'm on Insta on James Deelux, Deelux. Yeah, I'm all out to help people and empower people. Especially men that are going through the same thing. We all need to kind of stick together and kind of give each other flowers and a G up, and kind of help each other reach our potential. So
Yeah, man.
Insta and Jake. So
Cool.
that's
Awesome.
fine.
Well, James, I'm incredibly grateful for this conversation, buddy. Keep up the good
Me too,
work,
mate.
and keep smashing it, man.
Done. Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.